Good evening and welcome on this beautiful Monday evening for episode 10 of WOSFL Weekly. I'm your host, Jonny Baillie. Delighted this evening to be joined by the gaffer, the main man, the Pyramid Promotions guru, PG. How are you?
A guru. I've never been called a guru in my life.
It's good to have you back. It's good to have you on the 10th episode as well as we march into double figures.
I know it's been going well. I've been delighted with it, to be honest with you. I think that being live has been quite good as well. But it feels weird, like I said to you before we come on, it feels weird being on this side of the screen instead of that side of the screen.
Mm-hmm. Aye, no, it's been good being live. I've enjoyed doing it live, but it's like obviously if you have any issues, there can be like we had when Des was on. Thankfully,
Des is the issue.
Aye, I'm beginning to think so.
Do you know what? I'm going to talk about this. It's for anybody that watched the Saturday live on Saturday with Desi's quiz. I'm going to need to put the questions onto Twitter and stuff because he sent me a mail. I've just been so busy, I've not done it. But he asked the question, and if we've got anybody just now who's on the live watching, if you did not watch Saturday, then Des asked the question. I need to find it. I'm going to find it.
Because which West of Scotland Football League team plays at an energy-fueled stadium? That was the question.
Am I right in saying it's ridiculous?
Aye, it's absolutely.
Des has been messaging me, continuing to say that it's not a ridiculous question. I just think it's insane.
I know. But anyway, thanks for everything. We'll see if anybody knows any answers. It's no bonneting at the Synergy Stadium, by the way, because that's what I guess. Yeah, but anyway, I appreciate everybody if you're tuning in. I remember if you want to interact with us, get in touch in the comments section. Happy to take any comments on your team's games at the weekend. I'll be honest, because my prior engagements at the weekend, I've not really seen much of the action. I've seen the results, but not really much of the action. So I'd be keen to find out what happened to your team at the weekend, if you're happy, no happy, or whatever. This will be available to rewatch on YouTube after the fact and should be available on audio form on all good podcast networks, providing PG remembers to upload it in time. Also, big shout out to our sponsors, Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, and also VSN Sport. If you're looking for insurance, and make sure you get in touch with the guys at Roxburgh, and if you're looking for some bespoke teamwear, get in touch with Gary at VSN. Details are going along the bottom of the screen. Right, PG, we'll get stuck in. We'll start with the Scottish Cup, the Scottish Junior Cup semi-final. Good result for Drumchapel, but just couldn't get the coveted second goal, and put a heartbreak to get in that fashion.
I think it's quite interesting. I fancied the Drum to win. I actually fancied them to win, but not by enough. It's quite interesting, and I know a lot of people won't have seen it. I don't know if the Drum released highlights from the first leg last week, and Kenzo gets sent off for myself and Des. It's becoming like the quiz. Me and Des disagree on so much. Honestly, I think the two are turning into an old married couple. But there was an instant where the ball's been put across the face of the goal. I think the Drum were down to 10 men at the time. Kenzo, in my opinion, managed to get himself in front of the striker and shield it so the ball could go straight past. And the striker catches Kenzo and falls, gets the penalty, Kenzo gets sent off. And then they're down to 9 men, and from then on, the rest is history. And it's interesting because that red card actually got rescinded during the week. And it shows how that could have such a massive impact in the fact that they've been put out because of that. And errors happen. It does happen, but I think that it's going to be such a sore one for the Drum when you look back and think we could have made our first ever Scottish Cup final, and I think it's their first year in the Scottish. It could make our first ever Scottish Cup final. Financially, it's a massive one for them as well. But Tranent, good side. I don't think many are surprised that they've managed to make it through to the final either. So good result for the game. Disappointment for the Drum overall, I suppose.
I know we were talking a few weeks ago when the semi-final draw happened, and we were saying that Tranent probably favourites, maybe along with Johnston Borough, but you wouldn't be surprised to see any of those 4 teams win it or in the final. So really disappointed, especially if that red card get rescinded as well. I mean, that's just going to be a sickener. And then they go so close. And I thought last week was a fine result on the basis of been down to 9 men. And then going to, and I had a feeling that they could do it yesterday, but they were just obviously just fell short. But it's disappointing. It would have been good to see an all-West final as usual, but Trinent are coming to spoil the party, aren't they? And Craig McGee's just saying in the comments here about Trinent playing a blinder going into the Scottish Junior Cup, biggest prize money by far. So maybe they're thinking outside the box for that. How can they drum up a wee bit extra dough, get in the Junior Cup if you're eligible?
Well, that's the thing. I'm sure I could be wrong with my figures, right? But I don't think I'll be that far out. The Talbot, when they beat Yoker 3 years ago, were 21 grand or something like that. There'll be a couple of Talbot guys maybe watching it could correct me, but I'm sure it was somewhere in that ballpark. And see if you're getting 20 grand for winning a competition. And I think Yoker maybe got 14 grand. Even at that, for no winning, it's by far the best prize money you're going to get at our level.
I remember when I was still at Lugar, we were in the last 16 or 32, and even that was like, I think it was like 500 quid or 600 quid. And to a club like Lugar, that's a lot of money. So maybe we'll see some other teams following Trinent's footsteps. I don't know if there's any other ones in the Lowland League or the East of Scotland or whatever that are eligible, and maybe they'll throw their hat in the ring and follow Trinent's kind of.
How long do the clubs get to be in it? I mean, we're talking, say Clydebank managed to beat Musselburgh in the playoff, go in, then go into League Two and do like a Cove Rangers for a few years ago, end up in the Championship in 4 years, 5 years' time. Can they still be in the... Not that they would, I imagine they would have pulled out by that point, but could they still be in the Junior Cup?
I don't know, maybe. I don't know whether there's something constitutionally that would stop them, but I can't see why not, because it's a separate entity that you're a member of, aren't you? And they don't actually... They don't do anything apart from the Junior Cup, so it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But well, I've got you, mate. What do you think for the final? Who do you fancy at Johnston Borough Largs?
Based on current form, I think you would maybe be leaning towards. Oh, there's Craig saying tier 5 and below eligible for the Scottish Junior Cup. So that's quite interesting. Well, that kind of puts that to bed. But for me, based on form, I would be looking towards Largs. A part of me does think, though, that I don't know if Largs have the mentality to win anything. No, I think that we've waxed lyrical about them for quite some time, and Arnie in particular, with how tremendous a job he's done. But ultimately, Largs have been a top 6 team. Lost the final to Talbot, which is fair enough. That can happen. Anybody can lose a final. But I wonder if this is maybe an issue that they have where they're not able to go and get themselves across the line. But based on form, I would be backing Largs to get through.
Good. I think, well, yesterday's result, obviously, we'll touch on the Premier League in a minute, but Johnston Borough, a great result against. I don't know what the teams were like, whether they were mixed up. And
Largs had a massive amount of changes, apparently.
I thought they would. I mean, they're not what to show their hand. I know it's still a wee bit away, but it's interesting you saying that, because you look at them, and are they one of these teams that just kind of gets to the top, the kind of almost top of the mountain and just kind of get to the very top? But we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see what happens on the 18th of May. So we'll see. Into the Premier Division, first off, I think Auchinleck 8, Beath 2. I mean, I think I was in the studio with you one week when the Beath beat
7-3. I think they beat Benbub.
Aye.
I think they were 2-0. I think they were 2-0 done that day as well.
Aye. So Talbot 8, Beath 2. I think that's a real sore one. We know Auchinleck can do that. I've been on the receiving end of it myself when I was managing Troon. We went up to Auchinleck during the week, and we actually took the lead. We scored after about 10 minutes. Dean Fulton scored a goal, and then we get beat 8-1. So I know it can happen. I know, and sometimes when teams just get rolling, and Craig's saying in the chat there that it could have been double figures, and they actually played the last 25 minutes with 10 men due to injury and used all their subs. But on the other side, for Sean Dillon, it's a sore one, isn't it?
Do you know, I've mentioned on the Saturday show, maybe, I don't know, about 6-7 weeks ago, that it wasn't coincidental for me that the Talbot started picking up a lot of wins when Kyle McAvoy came back for injury, and him and Connor Boyd just started banging goals in. 2 of them got 6 of the 8 Saturday, sorry. And I think that's the difference. And Paul Smith's just put a comment there saying Auchinleck always finish strongly, and that is pretty accurate as well. I think that they've been the last couple of years notoriously slow starters, but they've managed to really pick up the last couple of years. And the fact that you're looking at potentially second for them shows that they've had a pretty solid season. And I say that if it was anybody else, you'd be saying they've had a great season. But I think I still take the Talbot based on how it's been years gone by. But I'd say it's been a really good season for them. Beath, I'm wondering, right, so obviously we had a comment on Twitter the other day about me saying for 2 years ago that the Talbot were in decline, and then that Wally Baxter was able to wait 2 years to bring it up, and I think that proved my point. But I'm wondering if we're seeing, is this Beath, have they spent their time being a top side in the league, and are they going to have to look to come back? And I'm seeing Craig's put in that Mark Roberts was in the dugout and no Sean at the weekend. How much a difference is Sean going to make in terms of the two of them have went through what they wanted the team to do and who was going to play? So when the players are on the park, there's only a certain amount of impact you can make, but it's definitely a sore one for Beath.
It's just, I think especially when you're trying to look to next season as well, but I think it's going to be a really interesting summer for Beath, who they bring in, who leaves, what they look like at the start of the season. You know, a new manager coming in there. I think, like you, it'll just be a really interesting summer to watch and see what they do. In terms of the bottom, Darvo and Gartcairn now officially relegated to the first division, which they'll both be. Obviously, Gartcairn get stung with the points deduction. So did Darvo with 3 points as well in the Johnston Borough fiasco. But both those clubs will be looking to bounce back straight away next year.
I don't know what's going to happen with Darvo. Where I have no idea what the situation will be with Mick. I don't know whether they'll be looking to keep Mick or whether Mick will be looking to stay. I think there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of Darvo, but then you look at Gartcairn, I think that as much as I've been very, very critical of Gartcairn this season, and obviously the points deduction was a big thing, but since the points deduction, they've been the worst team in the league since November. So in my eyes, they've earned their relegation. But now with McStay and Darren Barr coming in, the budget's going to be cut a bit, but they're still going to have a reasonable budget. They've got quite a few players like Jordan Moore, Andy Stirling and stuff are on 2-year deals, so that they're not losing lots and lots of players. And knowing McStay pretty well, I don't see him and Darren bringing in good quality and having good contacts. And like I said, McStay's a very likeable guy, so I imagine players will want to play for him as well. So I think that they could be one of the ones that we've spoken about before, where sometimes going down isn't the worst thing in the world. Whereas Darvo, them going down, I think, is pretty bad for them. And I don't see Darvo having an easy time getting back up. Not that I think Gart can have an easy time, but you know what I mean. I don't think Darvo will find it particularly easy to come back up.
Mm-hmm. It'll be a really strong division, I think, next year. If you look at the teams that are coming up, there'll be, and you're saying Gartcairn's budget's going to get cut a wee bit, but even if you cut it a wee bit, it'll still be
it's still massive. I know.
Considerably more than most of all of the teams probably in that when they go down. I put together, and they'll have a chip on their shoulder as well with the points deduction. So I think they'll be really keen to come back up as soon as they can. Who do you think is going to stay up between Shotts and Benburb? Shotts in the driving seat, obviously, at the minute, but who do you think is going to stay up?
I think it's if you had to put your money on it, I'd have to say Shotts, because they've been good. And my apologies, my mother's just walked in the house there.
Mrs. G.
I know, Mrs. G's just come in. They've been good, and nobody's gave them a doing. So, all right, I'll see you later. In terms of Shot Benburb, they've taken quite a few doings that it doesn't really happen to Shotts. And I'm looking at the fixtures just now. Shotts have got Talbot and Gartcairn. Talbot's going to be a really tough one, because I don't see them giving everything a go to try and get second spot. But I think that Shotts have already shown, I think they got a draw against them not that long ago, for being 2 goals down. Gartcairn don't have anything don't have anything to play for, does that make them dangerous in the sense that they don't really care? They're just going to go and play their game. But I would be putting my money on Shotts if I had to pick any of them. Benburb, I've got Darvel, don't have anything to play for. Johnson Burret, even though they can still get second place, I feel like the Talbot would be more of a threat to Shotts. So I'm almost contradicting myself, but I still think Shotts will probably pip it because I think there's a potential that Benburb could lose both games.
Mm-hmm. I think so as well. When I watched Benburb last week against Darvel, I couldn't really see much in them that I thought they would stay in the division, to be honest. I wasn't overly impressed with them. I thought Darvel played well, so maybe that had something to do with it, but I wasn't overly impressed with Benburb when I watched them, and I thought they could struggle here. I couldn't really see them win the game, and then they go and beat Johnstone Burgh in midweek to give themselves a wee lifeline. But as you're saying about Shotts, they're just, you get the, I don't know, you can kind of rely on them, can't you? You know what you're going to get from them. You know what you're going to get for John's teams and stuff. So I think they'll just have that steel probably just to kind of get them over the line.
I think that, like you said, you can rely on them, and as I touched on, they do not get battered off at anybody. It just pretty much doesn't happen. But Paul's made a good comment there in the comment section that he says Shotts to stay up unless the Bankies don't go up or unless Broomhill fold. If the Bankies don't go up and Broomhill do come down, then there's got to be 4 relegated. Mm-hmm. So they both might go. But if we're working off the assumption that only 3 is going to go, then it's Benburb for me.
Clydebank better go up.
Oh, I really hope they do. It's for the benefit of...
I'm not having a love-in with Clydebank, but it's a farce that they have to go through this anyway. They should be going up automatically as league winners. So it's they really better go up, and then
I know it does feel like this is going to be the time though. And don't get me wrong, like on paper,
playoff games. I mean, how often do you see it even down south when you watch like the championship playoff and it's a team that finishes 6th that ends up getting
all you need is close at home. Trinent beating Darvel a couple of years ago. I mean, everybody would have. I think we were maybe a bit arrogant in that sense, but everybody was just going to assume that Darvel were going to go and do the job, and Trinent weren't playing ball with them. I do feel this is slightly different, where this Clydebank team, in my eyes, is arguably the best team that the West of Scotland's had in years. And Musselburgh, from what I've heard from a couple of people that have seen them, they're no bad, but they're no brilliant. But it's basically cup football, so anything can happen.
I looked at them. It's funny. I looked at the Musselburgh squad because I used to stay just kind of outside Musselburgh, and we used to play home games in the youth team. We used to play quite a few games at Musselburgh, and so I had a wee look at the squad, and I didn't really recognise many of the players. Do you know how sometimes you look and you think, right, who do I know over here? Like, who's the names that stick out? There wasn't really many that I stuck. It looked a young squad as well, to be fair, but I would hope Clydebank can do the job. Although they've got Jackie Miles playing for them, ex-teammate of mine. He must be the same age as me, but he's a fit lad, honestly. He's like an Adonis. He's built like an Adonis, so you'll have no, I can't say the same for myself, unfortunately. Right, okay, onto the first division. Atherley have secured promotion, which is fantastic, and then look as if they're going to go on and secure the I can't believe how impressive Kevin Rutkiewicz has made that. I've heard that a lot of the players are kind of not wanting their ticket as such, but they want to get the season done, win the league or whatever, get their money that they're owed, hopefully, and then they're away kind of thing. But Kevin's done an incredible job there to just manage that through this, which was a really turbulent time, and to go on the run that they've went on and to secure promotion back to the Premier League has been a fantastic achievement for them.
I think so as well. I think a lot of credit goes to Colin Riley for putting that team together and for how impressive they were in their early season form. They obviously had the wee dip just before Colin left, but it looked like that was obviously through other issues, and it's going to have an impact on the management and the playing staff, the fact that players weren't getting paid in time and stuff. But I think for Kevin coming in and properly steadied the ship and started to put wins together, it is really impressive. And I do believe Atherley have the best squad in the league. I mean, I know we're talking about wins, and it was a draw yesterday with Drawson, but it's just how consistent they've been. I'm looking at it just now. They have not lost a league game in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, that's form that they deserve to be where they're going to be, and it's
not just that, PG, it's the fact they've been playing like Wednesday. They played Monday, Wednesday last week. They've been playing Saturday, Wednesday for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and they played Monday, Wednesday last week. So when you take that into account as well, it's even more impressive.
I know, and when I saw them against the Rock, and I'd said this in the show on Saturday, I had my wee boy with me, and he ended up falling and cutting his knee open and stuff, and I didn't get to watch it as closely as I'd have liked. But what got me was, you know what the Rock's part's like, it's always very bumpy and bobbly. The Rock went ahead, and Arthurlie were a big physical side. I don't mean dirty or anything, but I mean like their strikers were both 6'2" plus, big, strong lads, and you're like, see, for me at this level, see if you have strikers who are big, strong, quick boys, then you're going to do well. And they looked like they were decent at the back, even though they lost a couple of goals. I was quite impressed with them without them clearly playing overly well, but you could see that there is a bit of quality on that side.
Aye, and Craig McGee's just saying in the chat there, Arthurlie looked miles ahead of Cowannon last week. Cowannon will limp across the promotion line. Well, I'm
not so convinced.
Are we sure that Cowannon will get that promotion? Because that's them now 2 defeats on the bounce. Rutherglen can now go above them if they win their game in hand. So are we sure Cowannon, they're having a wee wobble at the wrong time?
Big time. And you look at it, Kev's done a tremendous job there, and we've spoken about this as well. I genuinely think, particularly considering the start they had, he's been such an impressive job he's done, but they are flapping a bit. And the thing that sticks out for me is Renfrew don't look like they're slowing down. And I was convinced 8 weeks ago that Renfrew would have been the one to drop out, and they are not. And I think that Jimmy and his team deserve incredible credit. But if Cowannon don't beat the Rock, then Renfrew are promoted. And then you've got Glencairn. For talking sake, say Cowannon draw with the Rock, Renfrew are promoted, and there's no way that Glencairn are not beating Blantyre in the final day of the season. So
I just worry about the thing with Renfrew. I just worry because this 3-week gap between games just scares me. You know, it really does for Renfrew and the chances of getting promoted, because you're sitting about, you're trying to do it. It's interesting. I was talking to a couple of the guys at Whitlets yesterday, and they're in a similar position, and it just like, what do you do? Like, I know I remember you talking to Jimmy Quigley, and he was saying that they had a lot of injuries. They were going to look after players, maybe get a friendly here or there, and then you've got to get yourself up again for a big, massive game to try and win promotion. That's the only thing that worries me with Renfrew.
Aye, I genuinely think that a draw will be enough for Renfrew to get promoted. I don't see both Cowannon winning against the Rock and Glencairn beating the Meda and Blantyre. So I think that Renfrew are in a very good position. They seem to be, obviously their game against Petershill was the last game, they seem to be consistent or more consistent against top teams. And it's something that myself and Des spoke about on Saturday, and it's something that when Scott was on with the two is last week, them both being Renfrew men, Renfrew will pack that place out. And I genuinely think that you could be looking at anywhere from 800 to 1,200 fans at that game. Does that put too much pressure on the players? I don't know, but they seem to look like they're not slowing down just now.
Aye, it's a young squad, but you would hope that the manager's vastly experienced, so he'll know how to manage that and kind of get them through it. But I remember again a few weeks ago, I looked at Rutherglen's fixtures, and all their games at the time, apart from Thornywood, I think, were all against lower teams near the bottom of the league, and that's why I thought they could come with a run and just pip somebody if somebody stumbles, and it looks like they might do that to Cowannon. But even we're saying, even if Cowannon do miss out on that promotion spot, it's still, even if they finish fourth, I think that's an incredibly successful season for Kevin Kelly and the boys in his first year there, because the turnaround there has been incredible.
What I would say is, see for you, Des, I think Scott and maybe Martin are on me in the final day of the season, since I'm not able to make it. You're going to have a great day on the show. It's good, particularly when you add this division in the second division. It's going to be a tremendous day in the show.
I know. I'd actually I've loved to have gone to Renfrew to actually watch that, but They gave Des my word, and he came on my show, so I said I would help him out. So, I've got to do my best. Down at the bottom, it's looking like a tougher task for Maybole now after the weekend. They're now 4 points behind Irvine Meadow. They've got 2 games. Irvine Meadow's got 3. It's looking like a potential relegation for Maybole.
It's looking really difficult for them, and I actually think that George has done well over the last 5-6 weeks. Part of the issue for me as well is they've got the Rock, who still have something to play for, who have got a small outside chance of promotion, and then you've got the Meda. If the Meda don't lose to them, then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Meda just don't need to lose, and that's it. But knowing George a wee bit now through yourself and through the show, I don't get the impression that George isn't just going to go for it and try and see what they can get.
Oh, he'll give it. He'll fight to the end. He'll have them fighting to the end. And he said to me at the weekend that they were in the game, but they gave away a penalty. They seem to give away penalties all the time. I don't know what's going on, but they were in the game, but it just was a bit much for them, to be honest. And then Thornley would run out fairly comfortable winners. But you're right. If that game against Meadow, if they can get themselves to the situation where they can go into the Meadow game needing a win to stay up, then it's going to be that'll be an interesting game as well. Kind of loser goes down. Really, it's a bit of excitement that we like.
And there's also a game we need to take into account the potential of if 4 get relegated for the Premier League, 4 need to get relegated for the First Division, Second Division, and Third Division, and they're going to play with the extra team in the Fourth Division next season if that's the case. So that's where you're looking at. Rob Roy, Coburnie and the Meda, they need to be very, very careful. It won't be decided until the 25th of May when Clydebank play the second leg against Musselburgh. So I think that puts added pressure on. And it's not been brought up, but just to touch on Coburnie for me, I mean, losing to Glencairn's fair enough, but I think that they've had a shocking season. I really think that it's nowhere near good enough. And could you imagine Coburnie being in the Second Division?
You shouldn't be. I mean, you always think of Coburnie as a top league team, don't you?
I know.
Traditionally, just based off their kind of fan base and their history and things like that. But they've really not had a great season, and I think they'll probably stay up. They've got the games there. They only need a couple of points to keep themselves safe. But again, it's going to be a really interesting summer for them, where they go, how they build, because I would imagine the folks at Coburnie won't be wanting another season like this one.
No. Definitely no. I think that Des kind of cleared up on Saturday that he knows that Coburnie, they actually don't have the budget that a lot of people think they would have. They do have quite a small budget, even for that league. But you feel like, particularly in my time at this level, I remember them starting to really turn the tide and get promoted into the Premier League when I was in the First Division against them. And for a long time, they've been a massive club and they've got a lot of history. And you do, a bit like Meda, you expect them not to be in that position, but results are what results are, and they find themselves there.
So you don't win games of football, that's where you find yourselves, unfortunately, don't you?
Exactly.
Okay, mate, we'll move on to the Second Division. Just a couple of things. The question for Paul Smith asking about if I knew the capacity at Musselburgh. I don't, to be fair, but you'll enjoy it up there. It's a cracking wee ground. It's really tight. I would say probably you'll get 500 odd in there, probably fairly comfortably, but it's a really good place to watch football, so you'll enjoy your weekend up there. Okay, we'll go on to the Second Division. With a comment near the start from gamer GG Mason, who was saying Second Division so close, 4 teams within 3 points each other. And as a Muirkirk fan, it's not good for your heart. But
sorry, Johnny. Olive Bank Stadium, the home of Musselburgh Athletic FC, has a capacity of 1,200.
Doubt it. It's tight. It's very tight. But listen, Google must be right. So, Second Division, like I said, I spoke to a couple of boys at Whitlett's yesterday when I was out and about, and they're just again sitting, waiting to see what happens and see what they need to do when they play Lanark, which will be going to be a huge game, last game of the season. Them playing Lanark, and then Muirkirk winning yesterday. Lanark are on an absolute tear at the minute. They're a bit like Kilsyth Athletic have done in the 3rd division. Just seemed to out of nowhere, just magically winning games. Because I remember saying as far back as Christmas, I thought Muirkirk, Neilston, and Whitlett's nailed on, and then Lanark have just motored. And it's going to be really interesting to see who misses out, unfortunately, because somebody's going to miss out.
I know it's interesting. It's one of those ones where we've been saying it. Oyers have been saying it, like myself, you, Des, Paul, and his show. We've all been saying for months the top 3 was decided. It was just who was going to finish where. And Lanark have just been incredible. I mean, that's 2-0 against Muirkirk during the week, 3-0 against Cambuslang, 3-1 against Forth, 6-0 against St Anne's. So it does help they've had teams lower down, 1-0 against Kilsyth, 4-1 against Craigmark. Did you have to go back to the Bonneton game where they lost there? But even before that, they beat Calais Locos, they beat Bells Hill, they beat Forth, they beat Neilson. It's been a sensational run, and I don't know how it'll go, because Lanark have got Les Mahago on Saturday. Les Mahago have basically...
No, it's in Wednesday, mate. Wednesday. We go to Les Mahago. Muirkirk play at home to Lark Hall. So 2 massive games on Wednesday night.
So a draw there. If they can get a draw and beat Whitletts, then that's them. They're up. Potentially league winners. Unlikely with 4 points, but you're looking at 4 points for the next 2 games, and it could be enough.
Mm-hmm. And you're looking at Les Mahago, who picked up a wee bit recently, lost at the weekend, but it's no easy to go. It's no easy to go anywhere in midweek, to be honest, is it really? But going to Les Mahago is not going to be easy, and similarly for Lark Hall, going down to Muirkirk is not going to be easy either. But Muirkirk will be looking. They need to keep the pressure on, because I'm sure they'll be checking their phones to see what the Lanark score is at the weekend, because it's you can't afford to drop any points, or you could be in bother.
I know, and that is the thing. I thought that was a really impressive result for. Excuse me. I thought it was a really impressive result for Muirkirk at the weekend, because obviously we're touching on Les Mahago. They might not have been winning a huge amount of games, but they weren't losing very many games. And I won't lie, I thought that Muirkirk were maybe going to slip out, and I thought that there'd be a couple of wee games here and there hadn't really gone their way. Even though their form was still decent, I thought they might have slipped out of it. But Saturday was a huge result, and it's put them in such a good position. I mean, the fact that they've got 3 games left, they're in a real shout. Lark Hall, tough game. Cambuslang, really expect them to beat Cambuslang, and then the final game against Lark Hall, which again, it's hard to tell against Lark Hall, because you don't know what Lark Hall is going to turn up. Could be the team that get battered, or it could be the team that battered you. You don't know what you're going to get with them. Mm-hmm. But I think for Ross and his team, the fact that 2 games in hand on Whitletts, they're only 3 points behind. They've got to be so happy with the position they're in. And even though we always say it, that games in hand doesn't mean points, I'd probably rather be in Muirkirk's position right now, because I think they've got enough to at least get 5 or 6 points in the last 3 games.
I've just been really impressed with the kind of steel that they've shown for such a young squad. Every time they've had a stumble, they've bounced back almost immediately. I think they had 3 games recently where they didn't win, but they're bouncing back, and then they lost 2 weeks ago, and then they bounced back again this week. So for a young team, and I know he's got a bit of experience in the team now, but that's really, really impressed me. But it's just going to be so exciting. Last game of the season, you could effectively be looking at all 4 teams with a chance of winning the league. You know, we could have helicopter Saturday for the second division. Do you know what I mean? The helicopter flying over Ayr, Barhead, or Neilston, Lanark and Muirkirk. Do you know what I mean?
The funny thing is, you could be getting into the final day of the season, and it's not just being any 4 of them could get promoted, or any 4 could slip out. Any 4 could win the league. And I think that is so exciting, that you'll not get many leagues where you go to the final day of the season and there's potentially 4 teams fighting for the win to win the league. And I think it's a great advert for our level of football. And I think that these 4 teams deserve to be where they are. And for me, I looking at the league table. It's a bit disappointing for Lark Hall. I mean, potentially Lark Hall could still get promoted. Like if they beat Muirkirk twice, then they go up to they're only a point behind them. And depending on what they do with their other game, there is potentially still 5 teams could go up. I think let's see, their other game's Craigmark. So if they beat Muirkirk on Wednesday, beat Craigmark on Saturday, which you would think would happen, that's them sitting on 59 points. They're in my shout. I don't see it happening, but they're still in my shout.
Aye, and you've just got to keep going. You've just got to keep trying to win games and try and put yourself in a position, like we said before, that you've got a chance of doing something. Because that's all you want at the end of the day is just an opportunity to. That's what I was saying. I was saying to wee Robert Love yesterday. He says you want to be in that position where you can go and win a game, and it gets you a promotion, it gets you a league title. If you can get to that stage, then happy days, you know. But to be fair, I don't know if MD and Muirkirk have seen a helicopter before. So I'm only kidding on. MD watching from Muirkirk.
I heard that they saw Channel 5 at the weekend for the first time, didn't they? So
I know a UFO spotted. Down at the bottom, it's looking Cambuslang have kind of fell right into danger. They just seem to have been on a steady decline down the table, unfortunately, and with fourth having those games in hand. And you always, I think with fourth, I don't know whether this is right or wrong with me, but you always fancy fourth to pick up a victory here and there.
Nah, they don't get to a cup final. I know it's the Strathclyde Demolition, which is, barring a couple of teams, is a really weak competition. You don't get to a cup final if your team's not got something about you. And they obviously had the comfortable win against Craigmark at the weekend. And looking at their remaining fixtures, Cali Locals, a team that don't have anything to play for. Yoker, a team who could still get relegated. And then Craigmark again. I think that fourth will stay up. And I think that you could be looking at the bottom 3 being decided. Potentially Yoker getting pulled back into it. But other than that, I don't see fourth going down.
No, I don't either as well. But I know you're talking about the weekend's result against Craigmark, but I mean, you're talking about Cali Locals there. Craigmark beat them. So they've won that game and they've won it quite comfortably or quite comprehensively. Sorry, I don't know if it was comfortable. I wasn't there, but they've won it quite comprehensively. So that's a really important thing to know that your team can go in. The games that you should win, you do win. Which when you're down the bottom are usually few and far between. But the fact that went in and won that 4-0 is a pretty impressive result. And I take it, you think it's going to be the 3 that's down there just now?
I think so. Obviously, Craigmark are relegated. The Ants, I don't see the Ants being able to pick up maximum points for the last 2 games. I think that they need a lot of work in the summer. I mean, they've got Nielsen on Saturday. I just don't see them getting anything for that. And then Les Mehago in the last day, I just don't think they'll get it. I think they might get a point against Les Mehago, but that won't be enough for them. So in Cambuslang, I've been saying it for months, and I could still be proven wrong, but I've been saying it for months. After I saw them, this was before Christmas, I saw them play against the Port. I was convinced they were going to go down, even though they were maybe 4 or 5 places above the relegation zone. They looked very, very poor for me. And I've heard there's been serious issues behind the scenes and in the dressing room with players and management fighting and stuff like that. And it's a shocker for them because I think that they're a good club and they've been in the Premier League as recent as a few years back. But I just think there's a lot wrong there, and I think they'll go down.
I tend to agree with you. And on the flip side with that, with St Anthony's, I actually don't think it's the worst thing in the world.
No, definitely not.
Getting relegated because a new manager comes in and gets a chance to build his team and in a league where they're a lot more competitive because they stay up, they could find themselves in the same situation again. And as a new manager, we all know it's difficult. You know, if you're trying to just scramble by and pick up points here and there, whereas you drop down a level, you can coach the team to win games and go and play and build it up from there. So it's probably not the worst thing for them, although it's not going to make the pain of a relegation any easier.
Nah, but I think what helps a wee bit as well is that the relegation's not on Monty. And he's come in and they knew there was a real possibility they'd go down. It'd have been good for them if they kept them up. But I think that Monty's got good contacts at 20s. He's also got good contact with senior players, and I've mentioned this before, we're bringing in like Max Wright and stuff like that. I believe the Ants will be a very competitive side in the third division next season. And I also think that the Ants are probably, that is the level. They're a top half of the third division, bottom half of the second division type club. And I think you could see a decent season for the Ants next season. And I think that they'll probably quietly and in themselves, they probably won't be devastated. They would rather not get relegated, but I don't think they'll be absolutely devastated by it.
Aye, no, definitely. Right, just before we move on to the second division, got a comment there for Dougie Chalmers asking if we spoke about the Borough yet. We did speak about them at the start, but if you're wanting to speak about anything in particular, Dougie, let us know if you've got any thoughts, and we can revisit them towards the end of the show. Okay, going on to the third division, and is that Coolside Athletic officially promoted then?
Yes.
That's a fantastic achievement for them. Well,
it was also Bailey's 100th game in charge of the club yesterday as well. So a massive congratulations to him. And it's ironic that he'll be leaving on 101 games after his 100th game being so important for the club. But I think that I really hope that he does well in his business and what he's trying to do. But I hope he's not at the game for very long. He's just, as much as me and Dak used to wind him up and talk about him finding the old hard bits of toilet rolled in the back of his bed now at his age, he's such an impressive young guy. And I think that for him to achieve what he's achieved in 4 or 5 years with Coolside and getting him 2 promotions, I genuinely think that he's such a bright talent, and I really hope he's not at the game for too long. And I hope that somebody gives him an opportunity as well that's higher up, because I think that he's got real quality and he should be really proud of what he's actually managed to achieve with that team.
Aye, definitely. And I don't even know if it's a case of if he got an opportunity to go as part of a coaching staff somewhere else higher up or whatever, and that would be relieve a bit of the pressure from him. But I'm the same as you. Such a young man that's come in and done so well. We don't want to see him.
No.
Like, we don't want to not see him again, if that makes sense, especially given the success he's had. Do you think he's regretting saying he's leaving now they've got promoted?
I don't know. Surely there's got to be a bit of it. I wonder. I spoke to Bailey and he never gave anything away, but I wonder if a part of this is a reason for him to step away, and it had to be a good reason for him to go, because I'm giving a lot of credit to him. His team deserve a lot of credit for young guys who now probably have about 100 odd games at this level. But I also think his committee, who, as far as I'm aware, are his mates, and they're young guys as well who are in their mid-20s. And you're like, I just genuinely think that Coolside have really impressed me as a club. I think that they've done so well in the park, and they seem like their social media stuff, they try really hard in the background, and they've made some good videos on their YouTube. And I think that they're a great club, a great small club at our level who deserve so much credit. But I wonder if it's maybe been an excuse to step away and take 6 months and then come back in and have a clean break to go somewhere else, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm. What do you see them doing? Do you think they'll promote from within, or do you think they'll go external?
I can't say.
Or have you got a room? Oh, don't you? You know.
I know a bit. I know a wee bit.
And you're not going to tell us?
I can't say. I was asked not to. Asked not to, and I won't, because it still might not happen. But
right.
It's quite interesting. It could be.
Right, okay.
It could be quite interesting. It's nothing like massive news or anything. But
right, okay. I'm just going to start saying things and try and judge your reaction. When so they're promoting from within? Then yeah.
I don't know. Do you know? I don't know who the manager is. I don't know who he is, right? But people who have been asked to go in with him, we know them.
Right. Okay. Aye, good. Oh. Oh well, it's good work with Des, wasn't it? He texts me earlier saying he's watching, so he's obviously keeping an eye on us, making sure we're not talking about him and his daft questions. Ardeer and Threave with Sean and Kenny on the show last week. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know. Talking about Ardeer's season and how they'd kind of set that target of being in the mix at Christmas, and then once they're in the mix, they start to say, right, let's kind of push for it. But a solid 1-each draw against Threave. It probably doesn't really do either team that good, to be fair, that draw there, does it?
No, I think that it's probably gone for Ardere now. I think the promotion's probably gone. But not just because Sean's a good friend of the show, but he's another one I should be really proud of what they've achieved. I think that he's done a great job at Ardere. And I think next season they just go and have another crack at it, because they've clearly shown that they've been a lot more consistent later on in the season when they've got more of their squad back. If they can add 2 or 3 to that squad, then there's no reason to say that they can't go and get promoted or even win the league next season.
Aye, and he was telling us about the plans for kind of off the park as well. And I remember speaking to him at Christmas at an event. We were at a works event, and he was saying he was kind of getting a bit frustrated with the inconsistency. And when you want to go and get promoted, you want to go and win leagues, you need to go on runs, you need to get those games. Like we spoke about with Lanark, Kilsyth, teams that have just started winning games out of nowhere, and you just don't see where they're going to lose. And I think that'll be the thing that we'll be looking to build on next year. I would suggest, I'd probably laugh and say I don't know what I'm talking about, but I would suggest if they had a wee bit more experience in the team, just to kind of manage certain situations, that then brings that consistency. Because you know yourself, when you're trying to win things, you need to win these 2-1s, these kind of lucky 1-0s, all that kind of thing. And I think if they could just get that under control, then I think they would be really kind of favoured for the league next year in terms of who's coming up and coming down. And looking at the third spot, Greenock going to Lugan and win, which is always a tough place to go, as I know, but it's a good solid win for Greenock. And then Threave go to Lugan in midweek, so it's going to be a few more twists and turns in this league as well, which is again for that last promotion spot, because Threave will be. I just don't know if the games are going to catch up with Threave. I said this last week, but I don't know. What do you think?
I know it's hard to tell, because I would have said a few months ago, even though they had a lot of games to play, the game against Stranraer and stuff like that showed real promise for Threave, and you would be thinking they've probably got enough to go and get through. I don't know, because I'm looking at Greenock's fixtures. They've got Finnart. I think that's on Saturday. They've got so they've got Finnart on Saturday, and Finnart look like they almost cannot buy a win. I mean, I know they lost again at the weekend to Kilsyth, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but Finnart in a right bad way now, and they're obviously had a change of management and the kind of change of stuff behind the scenes at Finnart, but they're in a bad way in terms of form. And I think that Greenock might scrape through because they've got Lugan the last day of the season as well. So say if they can pick up 6 points there, takes them to 60. Threave would have to get 15 points in the last 5 games. I'm not sure that's enough. I just don't.
They've got 2 really tough midweek games. They've got to go to Lugan on Wednesday, and then they've got to go to Irvine Vicks as well. Now, you would probably look. A couple of weeks ago, you were saying that the Lugar game will be a tough game because Lugar are good at home. But I was thinking that Irvine Vicks would be a tough game. But then Irvine Vicks, the last 2 results.
I know.
I mean, that on Saturday, getting beat 7-1 off Dalry, that will be. Ben Carson will be doing his head in because they were going so well. And then I was starting to talk in the show as could they actually do this and stay up? But then the last two weekends have just killed them, really.
I know, and it doesn't help them that Glasgow United get a good win against Fairleigh at the weekend. Obviously, they needed them to drop points, the both of them to drop points. But you look at if they'd won, I know it's easy to say now because they didn't and it's gone. But if they'd won, they would be a point behind Glasgow United and they would still have a wee outside chance. But it's gone now. That for me, they're 4 points behind Glasgow United. They've got 3 games played more. I don't see it being enough for them. I think they're going to go. And
is that Vela leaving officially gone as well? It looks, if my maths is
yes,
right.
Vela leaving are down. So that defeat yesterday, sure, that's them down as well. So it's definitely going to be.
I'm surprised at Vela leaving. I thought we played them when we were in the 3rd division, and I thought they were a decent side. And I thought they would have progressed a wee bit, and then they just seem to fall off this year. I don't know what's that.
They looked for the first half of last season like they were going to get promoted, and then the backside fell at you, and it's not getting any better for them.
I know. I know. So it'll be interesting to see how they regroup in the fourth division next year. But I agree with you. I think Glasgow United will probably just do enough. Well, they will do enough to stay up again. It's been a team that has frustrated the life out of me.
Can I just say, Paul Smith put a comment on for Desi's quiz saying, was the answer Lark Hall? Paul, I know you watched Saturday's show, so don't pretend that you knew the answer to that, because that is an absolute farcical question and I'm not having it. And Des, if you're watching, I'm coming for you on Saturday. That's an absolute disgrace.
Was the answer Lark Hall, eh?
It was Gasworks Park.
Right, okay. Craig McGee's asking me who's getting the Luger job. I've absolutely no idea, Craig, to be honest. Nearly time to bring his dad out of retirement to take him again. I've no idea who's getting the job down there. It's been a bit of a kind of topsy-turvy time for them. I think the applications closed last week or something. So it'll be interesting to see who goes in there and how that works out for them, because they've had a good season, but they'll be looking to build getting into next year as well.
Big thing as well, did they keep Ewan McIver? Surely somebody's got to be sniffing about him.
You'd imagine so. Any goal scorer, you know yourself, PG, goal. If you're a goal scorer, they're worth their weight in gold. You know, look at the boy. What was the name of the fella that Maybole signed for Glenvale at the start of the season, and then moved to Australia?
Oh, that was from Giffnock. That was Jerry.
Aye.
I forgot his second name, but aye.
You know what I mean? So see if you can score goals, you'll get a move somewhere. Somebody will want you, and teams should be looking at players doing. We've spoken about it so many times. If budgets are coming down across the whole region, teams, especially in the Premier League First Division, they should be looking at these young boys and giving them chances, especially goal scorers, because
100%. You look at Sean Daly and Glenville team. Craig McGee will maybe think I'm his agent as well. If you look at Sean Daly and the Glenville team. No, I know that the rumours are rife that East Kilbride Thistle offered him a reasonable bit of money. Whether they'll dispute it or not is up to them, but it's what I'd heard. But see, if you're a club who are higher up, you've got to be seriously looking at Ewan McIver to see if he has something to offer, or you've got to be looking at Sean Daly to see if he's got something to offer, because you don't score 20 plus goals in teams who are fighting relegation ultimately, or close to fighting relegation, and not have something about you.
And the same at the top end. You look at the boys at Thorn now; they're in a pretty different situation because they've just won a league. So you would imagine it's easier to get the boys to stay into it. If you're a manager, you've just won a league. You've got your pals there. It's all happy. Everything in the garden's rosy. So maybe nobody is inclined to move. But if you're one of the teams in the middle to the bottom, and a bigger team comes in looking for you, then you'll be looking to go.
I think you make a good point though with the Thorn, that what do we see for the Thorn next season? No, they don't have vast sums of money. They might have a small amount to pay players something, but they don't have lots and lots of money. You're looking at, they've got Davy McKenna and they've got Darren Jones, who they're both getting on now as well, so they won't be relied upon as heavily as they were earlier in the season at times. And there's no way you've not got teams who have been down watching the Thorn, because everything about them seems to be really impressive. I've mentioned how impressive I think Coastal Athletic have been on a smaller scale, but the Thorn seem to really have their act together, and I'd be very, very surprised if teams weren't looking at the Thorn. But does David Watt, who's just signed another year with them, does he have good relationships with them? Does he get to keep them? I don't know. Well,
they seem to have been they've progressed together almost as a group, which again, you look at a team like Muirkirk, Ross Kuzik's done the same with that team, where they've progressed as a group and they're all kind of together, and you add one or two here and there and you make them stronger. But it'll be interesting to see how they contribute to the second division next year. Okay, we'll wrap up with the fourth division. Your team wasn't in action this weekend, PG, but Knightswood put the pressure on with a good 4-2 win away to Eglinton.
I won't lie, I'm really, really upset with the Port right now. I thought they were going to do it, and it's barring Knightswood losing at the weekend, on the 17th against Eglinton, which they've shown at the weekend there. It's unlikely, particularly at Kelvin's side. I think the Knights would have won the league, and I think that Kello are in a great position to get third spot. Easterhouse are still trying to put a bit of pressure on them, but I think that Kello have enough about them that they'll probably get third spot, and I don't think there's a lot left to be said on the fourth division, because it seems to be really, really wrapped up. But I think it's also been a really good year. And I think that Knightswood and the Port have been by far the best teams. I mean, they've lost 5 games between them. They've just been excellent this season.
I've went back and forth. I don't know if you've seen it. I've been like, my thinking was that I thought Knightswood were going to win it, and then I looked at the run-ins and I thought Port Glasgow have got that experience throughout the team that they would be able to manage it and get themselves over the line, and whether Knightswood had that equivalent to do it. But Knightswood have been just so impressive all season, and Port Glasgow, really tough game going to Rossvale on Saturday, which will not be easy for them, although Rossvale aren't on a great run at the minute. But it will still be a difficult game for them on Saturday. But there'll be that added pressure where they know they need to win, or else it's gone.
I think that New Mains game for the Port was really, really disappointing. I mean, well done to New Mains for making it a contest and getting the point. But to touch on what you said about Knightswood, we thought they had the wobble. They drew with Kello, then they lost to St Peters. And you're thinking, is this going to be, is the nerves going to get them? Then they bang out 4 wins out of 5 and get a draw.
I think they drew with Saltcoats as well when it was, like recently a few weeks ago, and you're thinking, oh, is that the pressure? Do you know, but then I think Saltcoats, they had the last minute winner down at Saltcoats, and then they drew at home. So maybe it's just a wee bit of a bogey team.
I think that a lot of credit goes to Stevie Wilson and Davy Wilson at Saltcoats, because I know they're sitting third bottom of the league, but they've got 27 points in 28 games. You wouldn't have picked that for them 8 or 9 months ago, because they were a bit of shambles, and they've managed to really steady them. But it's just Knights would have been. I think that they beat the Port twice, so they deserve it for me. And it's been a bit disappointing for me, because I think that the Port, if they were really on their game, the Port, maybe I'm just biased, I think they're a better side. But Knights would beat them twice, so I suppose I'm not right. But I think it's 2 of them have been great. But I was quite interested in the 4th division for next year. I wonder if Eglinton are going to go and spend a bit of money, because obviously it's been known that they've had a bit of money. I think St Peters will be. I don't think they'll win the league or anything, and I don't know if they'll even be good enough to get promoted. But I think St Peters will be a much improved team. Kenny seems to be getting them playing better. It looks like their committee issues have been sorted out. Then you've got Royal Albert, who have added to their squad well at near the end of the season. Have become much stronger. Do we see a better Giffnock side under JD? It's going to be an interesting.
Rossvale will still be there and thereabouts. We don't know what's going to happen to East Kilbride. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. What was the chat on Saturday with the?
So, as far as I'm aware, it's a guy, Stephen Kane, who was at Glebe Hibernian, who were. My knowledge is pretty poor on Saturday morning amateur, but I think they were a reasonable Saturday morning team. Rumour is they've got a wee bit of money coming on board, so they could potentially. I think they'll be stronger next season. If the rumours are true, they'll definitely be stronger next season. Then you're looking at Vale even being in the league. Mm-hmm. You're looking at Irvine Vicks more than likely. Wishaw, I think Wishaw will probably pick up a wee touch next season as well. So I do believe that the league won't be as strong in terms of Knightswood and the Port being running away top 2, but I think it'll probably be more interesting next season.
I think it'll be really interesting league next year when you put all those teams together. I think you're looking at that, and again, I know it's hypotheticals because we don't know what's going to happen in the summer, but you're really looking at every team apart from maybe BSC being able to beat every other team.
I know.
When you actually think about
it. And let's really hope that BSC could get something sorted, because 29 games.
Have you heard the rumours that they may be going away?
Is that right?
I've heard that rumour. I hope it's not true, because you don't want to see that happen with any team. But I'd heard that. But I hope it's not the case. I hope they can get themselves together and stay in the league.
What they should probably do, and I don't know if they've tried anything like this, but I'd honestly go down and see if I was their chairman or their committee. I would go down the route of finding a reasonable amateur team and say to them, do you want to come on board with us? If you have to bring your management team, and ours will go. But do you want to come on board with us and become competitive? Because I played 29, won 1, which was against Saltcoats, lost 28, scored 20, and conceded 159. And I think that's the worst I've ever seen. They must be.
How do you get boys to still turn up?
It's amazing, and it's a credit to them that they do continue to turn up. But I don't think I've ever seen anybody at this level that's that bad.
No, and Campbelltown doing the old Saturday Sunday shift next week as well. Again,
I know it's impressive that, because I think they were actually New Mains. They played New Mains the last time, so they lost 1-0 to New Mains on a Saturday, lost 2-0 to Giffnock on the Sunday, and then it's New Mains on a Saturday again, and Royal Albert on the Sunday. So I don't see them taking any points in that, but fair play to them. If they want to be mental and do that, then that's up to them.
I know. No, brilliant, mate, brilliant. So listen, that will kind of wrap.
Sorry, Johnny, we've got a wee comment. I'd just like to add a wee bit on there for Brigade Banky. The League 2 reconstruction is not something we spoke about, but I think I touched on it Saturday in the show. I don't even know if I'd mentioned it to yourself, that there's a bit of jiggery pokery going on and potentially reconstruction with the lower leagues in Scotland, and the teams who were league teams are now in the lower league will be invited straight back up.
Good for them.
It's an absolute disgrace if that's the case, though. I mean, it's actually, they'll find a loophole, but if that's the case, then I think that it's borderline illegal. It's just so far wrong, it's unbelievable. But again, that is only rumour.
It's an absolute joke, and I saw them talking about the fact that Brora have won a treble this year, and now they've got nothing to show for it. You know, it's a disgrace. The whole thing's a shambles, basically, from top to bottom. But anyway, I've been trying to kind of avoid the reconstruction stuff on the show, just because it seems to be changing all the time, and the goalposts are moving all the time. But we'll see what happens in the coming future. But at least nothing's going to happen until the start of next year, the start of 26-27. So
I know.
Okay, mate, we'll wrap it up there. But thanks very much for joining us. How did you enjoy being a guest on your
I really liked it. Actually, I felt like I was talking too much. But what has disappointed me is there's no take 5 with PG.
I know.
I don't blame you for not doing it.
No. Listen, it's probably my fault.
I'm joking. I'm only joking.
Due to the state of my brain after yesterday, it's probably my fault. But no, it's been great having you, mate. I really appreciate you coming on Monday, and thanks to everybody that's been watching, everybody that's contributed in the comments and the questions. It's great. The engagement that we're getting on the show every week is absolutely brilliant, and I really, really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you coming along on a Monday rather than a Sunday. Next week we'll be back to a regular 7 o'clock on Sunday on YouTube. So just a reminder, you can rewatch this video on YouTube anytime. If you are watching it on YouTube, if you could hit the like button and subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel, where you'll get the opportunity to see all the other great content that PG and the other guys at the Pyramid Promotions are putting out. Loads and loads of great content. And if you want to help PG out, and you can become a member as well, membership options available. So dig deep and help us out. If you're enjoying the content that we're putting out, it'd be much appreciated. Okay, this week there wasn't as many games this week, PG. Only 28 games in the West of Scotland Football League this week, but 121 goals in 28 games.
I like this.
Averages out 4.3 goals per game. I think that's the highest we've had this so far, which is incredible. So like we always said, if you're wanting value for money and entertainment, find out where your local West of Scotland Football League team is, dig out a tenner and go and support them, because I'm sure they'll appreciate it.
You keep note of this for every week?
Well, I've got it in my notes. I'd need to go back and look, but I like to add up, because I like to just emphasise how good it is, the entertainment level you get at the West of Scotland Football League. But I know it's absolutely brilliant. So
before we finish up, for the ones that are still watching, and if you're watching it back or listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, then go on to the Pyramid Promotions Twitter page. Myself and Des will be hosting a live night with Clydebank manager Gordon Moffat, Drumchapel manager Adam Hopes, and Pollock manager Stuart Maxwell. Johnny and the rest of the guys for Pyramid Promotions are going to be there as well. So if you want to get a chat with the guys and enjoy a good night, then make sure you get down, get your ticket bought. The link is on the pin post on Pyramid Promotions, and it's bring your own bottle. So let's be honest, it's a tenner for a ticket. You can get a good bit of fun out of it, and you can get yourself absolutely wellied pretty cheap. So it's always, I think it's a good sale.
Aye, and if I've said anything that offended anybody over the course of my episodes, then you can come and have it out with me in person. As long as it's civil, you know, no aggression. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Definitely going to fight my way out of paper bag. Okay, mate, brilliant. So I've been Jonny Baillie. That's been PG. I've really enjoyed your company. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching and listening. And I'll see you not the same time, next Sunday, but with the same place. Okay. Cheers, guys. See you later.
Cheers.